One other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about on the realtor tip is how things have changed since the late 90s in real estate. So I know you guys weren't in real estate necessarily in the 90s, but you remember, so we can actually have this conversation. So, because a lot of members on our team, I say, well, we used to fax offers. They say,
or mail them.
Yeah, mail the offer.
Or listings.
Well, and our stepmom was an agent back then, and you would go in the office and do floor duty and take calls, and that's how you get your leads. And, because there wasn't
no internet.
Right.
So,
I remember those days.
Yeah, and to sign offers and contracts, she would come to us or we would go to her and to the office, and it's very, very different these days for sure.
Yeah, can you imagine doing the deals you guys do and having to drive to people's houses to do offers? And
I would imagine we wouldn't have deadlines of offers due by, we're going to show it for a day and a half, and then
the technology has definitely sped up the process.
Yeah.
Even the showings and the scheduling and the scheduling, showing time, having that instead of having to call the local brokerage and go pick up the keys at the brokerage and then do the showing and return the keys.
We had to do that still up in Adams County, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
They can't just put a key box on?
So you would have to go pick up the keys at one location, drive to the listing,
show the listing,
and then return them so other people could show.
So think about this, though. If you had multiple showings with multiple brokerages on the same time and same day, somebody's waiting for that key to come back.
Right.
So you do your showings, and whoever's on the back end has to wait for you to do all your showings and then return the key.
You couldn't schedule your day.
No.
Yeah, they would make a whole bunch of copies of the same key, too.
Oh,
so
well, that would be good.
Yeah, but I mean, why not put a key box on the house, yo?
Right.
But that's $20 investment.
Yeah.
That's pretty high tech. But yeah, so fax machines. And I know when I was getting into real estate, email was just sort of becoming more popular.
Barely.
And I was like, cool, I can email these people that do email, these high tech people. Otherwise.
But most people didn't have email.
Yeah, but I got into email when it was just the beginning of it. Otherwise, I would print out sheets and write a little note and mail options to people. Yeah.
That just blows my mind.
That would increase your days on market or your absorption rate.
A little bit.
It would take so long for
a
them
little
to sell.
bit.
But the mail was a little faster then, too.
Well,
so
that's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know when you got your first email?
Well,
I was 95.
Where were you when you got your first email?
I know. I was 1995. My first son had just been born. I was on AOL.
AOL.
And somebody I am me. I'm like, I feel violated. What is this? Yeah, that was my first experience.
Somebody you knew?
No, I didn't know him. I'm like,
That's worse.
Can you see?
They're watching
me through this monitor.
You were out in LA then, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah, so you were in LA because I was in Iowa, and it probably was 1997 because I was in my other business at that time, and I remember saying to my teammates, I'm not getting that email thing. That thing's not sticking around. Jacob, I have been technology over, what is that word? What's the word I'm looking for? I didn't want it around for my whole life. So you got to pull me along.
It's okay.
It has not changed
We'll
since
get you there.
1997.
I mean, look at you. You're talking to a microphone right now.
That I have always been able to do.
You got your smartphone.
I do.
You're on a podcast.
I know.
Yeah,
know.
you're with it.
All techie now.
You have surpassed a lot of people. So
I was that way in college because I'm doing. Everybody had word processors, and we're doing their papers on word processors. I'm like, that's not sticking around. I'm going to stick with my typewriter. Throw that one away.
Yeah, I had a word processor. But I remember in college that I had a professor, and he said, now you are going to have to turn your paper into a PDF, and you have to email it to me.
What year was that?
Well, I
96,
graduated in
97.
'98,
I
so it
still
was
struggle to
somewhere
turn
in there.
things into PDF.
And I thought to myself, I'm gonna flunk. This is holy.
Remember how much you fought me on getting a first
Yeah.
computer?
Well, I had to go to a computer lab, and
I still have a little bit of anxiety over saving things as PDF. I can email them. I think I figured it out, but
yeah,
Our first
I've
com-
got it mastered.
Our first
now, but,
computer,
oh.
we had to convince Jen, number one, to buy it.
I was
my-
like, why do we need a computer?
And the company I worked for at the time, I think, they actually fronted the computer, and then I paid them weekly installments on the computer.
awesome.
I'm like, we don't need a computer. That's dumb. And then he got Quicken and started putting all the stuff on the computer. And I was like, you're doing this for banking?
From somebody that at the time was working
I
as a
worked
teller.
I worked at the teller at a
funny.
bank, so all day I would
Just-
balance people's accounts, and I'm
Right.
like,
With
seriously?
an abacus?
Yeah, I used
Slide rule.
I used one of those calculators that had the paper
Tape.
on
I
it.
loved those
Yeah.
things.
We still have one somewhere.
Yeah.
We moved it. I remember
I
packing
bought
it.
one for at home because I was like, I can't just use a calculator because I need to go back and be able to
Check
see.
it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
That's
dad every
hilarious.
Saturday morning. He'd drink a whole coffee. He ran a business, so he had his old drank a whole coffee pot, kitchen table. He was really fast. It was impressive. But
I was always impressed by those that could do the number keys
Yeah.
like that. That was very impressive to me.
Yeah.
Never was that person.
I think.
Right.
Well, when you had to, like at the
Yeah.
bank, you got fast because you had to put the account numbers in and stuff. But like where I worked, most of the numbers were the same in the beginning, and then like just the last few were different. So you got really good at like the first ones, and so it just made it easy.
Do you remember what the first ones were?
1-8 something.
oh yeah, good
'Cause-
old 1-8.
Well,
I-
different numbers were for different branches,
Right.
so it was
Oh.
like we were 1-8.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
It must have been, computers must have been fairly new, or internet was when 9/11 happened, because I remember where I worked at the time crashed, all the computers froze up.
Yeah, I was working there too. I was working at that time too, so we were using email and all that kind of thing, but not.
newer.
Yeah, it was pretty new. Yeah.
Yeah, people don't know. I remember when texting came out, and I was a big emailer, and I thought to myself, why would I text?
When I can email.
Why would I do that? I will just email. Why would I want it on my phone?
Oh no.
It's just a fad.
I'm like, why don't you just pick up the phone and talk? That would just happen so much faster. But then my daughter's texting bill was 11,000 texts in a month, you know.
my gosh.
So
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. On those little phones that had 3 letters on the
T9?
buttons,
Yeah.
but she
Yeah.
could
No,
11,000
thank you.
texts. I'm like, give me that phone, mom.
I
Yeah.
still think it's easier and faster to call.
I agree.
I would almost rather call sometimes, although
I agree.
Jen likes to text more than she wants to talk.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on the situation. I was working with several people this afternoon, and one just kept going bling, bling into my text messages. I couldn't even respond just 'cause she was moving. She was actually moving faster than I was.
Wow.
And I know. And so I just finally, I'm like, I'm just calling her.
Yeah.
And it took like 17 text messages out of what was going to happen. Like we figured it out and it was taken care of. So, but I've always been like, why wouldn't you just talk rather than text? But because you can't talk
Losing
sometimes.
it through the generation.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we're old.
I am 29.
Still?
Yep.
Nice.
Me too.
If you like content like this, consider watching some of these other videos, hitting the subscribe button. If you want to know what your house is currently worth, go to hometeamforyou.com and look at the free evaluation tool.